The King and I, and that was the first musical that we did. Mike Baldwin and Mary Ruppel, the art teacher, did one of the most magnificent sets that I have ever been privileged to work with. They did a marvelous job on it. The first show I did at the college was Arms and the Man, and I did Arms and the Man because when I went over there, J. Henry Headley said, I want you to do a Shaw play. And since he was the division chair and basically my boss, I said, okay, so we'll do that. And we tackled the classics. Pete Walterscheid was in it, Claudia Hamlin, Kathy Gonder. Oh, those are great kids. I enjoyed them. Your Good Man Charlie Brown was a fun show. It was a great show with a lot of very talented kids that did the part. And some of those kids are still around town. Daryl Harbaugh was in it. But it was a delightful show to produce. Charlie Brown was played by a young man from Sudan who was one of the most delightful Charlie Browns I've ever seen. But it was a good cast. Musicals, oh my, we did all kinds of musicals. Kiss Me Kate was a great one. South Pacific was fun. Sound of Music, I did at Community Theater, had a great group of nuns. One of my nuns, by the name of Lou Barndollar, it was the first time I've ever had a pregnant nun in a show because she was carrying a child while she was performing. We did a lot of community work with people, and the kids in the college worked in both fields. They were doing, some of them, up to 8 to 10 shows a year. So they really got a lot of practice. See How They Run was one of the funniest shows that I've ever done. I had a tremendous cast. Delightful production to do. You don't make anything happen by yourself. It's the people that you have working with you and for you that make it possible for you to do that. The musicals that we did wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't had Jim Criswell in the orchestra pit, or somebody like Max Wilson doing the choral part of it, or Ed Gillum. And I've had some good people to work with. And we've been able to, don't get me wrong, we have not always seen eye to eye. That's not a part of it. But we worked through it. The main thing is the show is the important thing. The whole, not an individual, not a person. And that includes the director or anybody else, an actor, a set designer, anything. You all work as a unit. And if you work as a unit and you work with people and you use those talents and you appreciate those talents, then things happen and it makes it possible. You can't put on, no matter how good a director you are, you're not going to put on a production unless you have the right combination of people that work together for the whole of the play. A musical doesn't take place just because there's a director up there on stage. It takes place because there's also somebody who does the music, who coaches the vocal, who makes the costumes, who does the makeup. I mean, it's a total package. It's not a person. And I learned that a long time ago. In Cavalcade, Cavalcade would not have been possible if all those teachers had not devoted their time and given of their time. And they gave hours. And they were willing to do that. It was for the kids. The same way with the kids. Cavalcade wouldn't have been there if the kids hadn't wanted to do it, hadn't liked to do it, and all the way through. The great things about Coffeyville. One, the kids. I have had a marvelous time with the children that have come out of this community. If it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't have stayed. But I enjoyed working with them. They were great kids to work with. Dr. Graham used to jump me on calling them kids, but to me they're kids. They're part of my life, and it was fun with them. There were some bumps in the road, But it was an interesting career. I wouldn't have, now that I look back on it, changed very much of it. You know, there are a few things I would have done differently. And you always wonder, what if? But I look back at the kids and the ones that I hear from and the ones that I watch have gone on, and that's happy times. I wouldn't change it for a world. It's fun. The college was great. The years that I had there were good years for the most part. I wouldn't go back in any way, shape, or form. Times have changed. But when I was there, it was fun, it was exciting. And again, the people that I met and the people I worked with, I treasure. That's a part of the good things of life. You know, and the bad are insignificant.